We have invited you to state our position as far as the Electoral Commission of Ghana has a proposal to compile a new voter register. We are a coalition of political parties for yes to a new register. We support the Electoral Commission because their justification for the new register is very clear. Also, our main reason is simple. The NDC MPP duopoly can be broken by us if only the register is very clean. We need a clean register because we want to break that duopoly that NDC and MPP have been enjoying and have been taking this country for granted. First of all, as political parties, we acknowledge the fact that the Electoral Commission is the constitutional body that has the sole jurisdiction to administer all public elections in the country. One of the key functions in this regard has to do with the compilation of the voters' register. Article 45 of the 1992 Constitution and Section 2 of the Electoral Commission Act, Act 451, state in part that the Electoral Commission shall compile the register of voters and revise it at such periods as may be determined by law. The Constitution in Article 51 also mandates the EC to make regulations for the effective performance of its functions, particularly for the registration of voters and for the conduct of public elections. We also recognize that by reason of Article 46, the Electoral Commission is an independent body that is not subject to the direction or control of any person or authority in the performance of its function except as provided in the Constitution. The current biometric architecture does not have a facial recognition technology, nor does it allow for a facial recognition add-on to be added. The new biometric voter management system that the EC intends to acquire ahead of the 2020 elections will have a facial recognition as an additional feature for those whose figures cannot be verified and thus reduce the high incidence of manual verification, which often proves to be problematic and tends to compromise the integrity and credibility of our elections. Not only that, the new biometric system will also significantly reduce, if not completely eliminate, the increasingly high identification failure rate using new software and ensure image quality. According to the EC, registration officials will now have a real-time image quality feedback to improve capture. Despite demonstrating enough utility and justification for the adoption of a new biometric voter management solution to deal with the many challenges with the current system, some political parties, led by the NDC, are hell-bent on opposing the improvements to our electoral system. It is a fact that historically, the NDC has vigorously opposed changes designed to improve the electoral system. Yet, the changes have benefited the NDC as well as the nation, with increasingly transparency leading to increasingly free and fair elections since the Fourth Republic. You will expect that as key stakeholders, all political parties would rather throw their unflinching support for the election management body to enhance the nation's electoral administration and not be seen to be touting the efforts of the Commission. We are saddened by the continuous bashing of the EC by the NDC. We know it's deliberate. In particular, for no justifiable reasons. And we wish to call on all well-meaning Ghanaians to call the so-called main opposition party to order. The NDC proves to be a bigger danger to the confidence generated in IPAC. You will notice that consistently, anytime you all sit at IPAC and take decision, the NDC will come out to contradict what we had all agreed on. Anytime the NDC has to agree and work with other political parties in the national interest, they turn around and stab the nation in the back. A recent example of betrayal of trust is the U-turn on the proposed referendum on local government elections. With all due respect, the NDC tries to make IPAC look dysfunctional, and that is disrespectful to us, the political parties who believe in effective dialogue. Why is the NDC afraid of a new voter register? In furtherance of their diabolic agenda against the EC, remember what Ofosu-Ampofo said. We have taken notice that the NDC is currently leading a group comprising some 6 political parties under the umbrella name Inter-Party Resistance Against the New Voters Register to constantly torment the EC in its attempt to improve our electoral system by procuring a new biometric system ahead of election 2020. For your information, the 6 parties, we still have 2 of them here. We have the PNC represented by Henry Asante, and then we have the UPP represented here by Mr. Akon. So it means even the 6 that they are talking about, it's not 6, it's 4.5. It is interesting that out of the over 21 registered political parties operating in the country, the NDC was able to convince only 4.5 to join them in this destructive mission. The group, you will recall, held a press conference last Monday to attempt to make a case against the compilation of a new register. Unfortunately for them, however, their statement, which was replete with deliberate distortions and blatant falsehoods intended to mislead and incite the Ghanaian public, has been trashed by the EC's comprehensive statement in a press conference by the Commission. We wish to, at this juncture, respond to some of the claims they made and accordingly set the record straight. Why should the EC compile a register in an election year? 2004, 2012, we did a new voter register in those sorts periods. Though 2004 was an election year, and 2012 likewise. Records have it that the EC compiled a new voter register in the election years of 2004 and 2012. Indeed, the current BVR, which was compiled by the EC, was done in April and May 2012. So this is not new. There's a continuation of the EC's own hot convention. Another question is, it is too expensive to compile a new voters register. I don't know whether your peace of mind can be exchanged for money. I don't know how you value peace. If you have money, all the money in this world sitting in your room, and there's what? War in this country tomorrow, like what this young man, Derek Ajay, put on his Facebook. My brother, you run. But you know any place to hide, because you hide in your room. You can't come out to enjoy that money. So please, you have to use the money. It's better to use the money to have peace of mind than to keep the money in the bank. It's common sense. This is a blatant falsehood because, on the contrary, the report from the independent consultants, as well as the EC's own IT team, have established that it is rather more expensive refurbishing the current system, which had become obsolete and unfit for purpose, than to acquire an entirely new system. In other words, the amount of money spent on refurbishing parts and renewing warranties could be used to acquire a brand new system. When you get to Kaneshi, and you see a truck driver driving some old Toyota Nissan or Toyota Ovan, maybe 18-year-old, and then you ask him, why are you using this one? Why don't you buy a new one? I said, my brother, I don't have the money. If I have the money, I'll buy a new one. But because I don't have the money, that's why I'm using this tetanus vehicle. So please, when you have the money to buy something new, buy. Secondly, the amount of money spent by the Charlotte Osel-led EC for just limited voter registration in 2016. I think this is something NDC should help Ghanaians by investigating this. Why Charlotte Osei-led administration could spend such amount, and it's not expensive, in limited registration. They spent 487.9 million in limited registration for 2016 election. And now we are using 448 million to buy a complete new voter register. So tell me which one is expensive. The records are there. Election is very key to the sustenance of our multi-party democracy, and the cost of a disputed election cannot be quantified. It is certainly not too much to spend 448 million to secure the peace of this country before, during, and after a general election. We believe a clean voter register will strengthen participation in elections and give confidence to the Ghanaian voter that what we vote for is what we get. We also disagree with their claim that this money should rather be invested in building more schools, hospitals, roads, and in resolving other social problems. In any case, it is the duty of every government to build schools, hospitals, and roads. But the highest duty of the government is to ensure our security. Credible elections ensure security because it stops all doubt. Spending 448 million on a new voters register that will enhance the credibility of our elections should not be the reason any government stops delivering on its obligations to the Ghanaian people. I'm happy the members of parliament in this country were so wise to approve that money to be used to acquire a new voter register.
I think that we need to get a history clear. There hasn't been any time in our history that the NDC had moved to clean or ensure that there is an enhancement in our register ever, right from 1992. To the extent that as late as the year 2000, in the view of the NDC, there were some people in this country who were incapable of being captured by pictures. So we had a situation where those of us living in districts and towns of this country had picture ID cards. Those of us living in the rural areas had thumbprint ID cards. To the extent that they even went to courts. The Attorney General then insisted. And I remember Tony Edu even said that they have some 2 million people living in those villages that cannot be captured. So you realize that the journey to ensure that we have a very clean register, one man, one vote register, is a journey that ourselves as New Patriotic Party and most of the minority parties has been pushing to ensure that we have an election that is credible, we have an election that has integrity, we have an election that all of us after the election can accept and continue with our daily chores. So I think that is important because I ask myself, if you have a situation where government or even an NGO decide to build a police station in a village, and you see some young men arguing against the building of police station, you must ask yourself, why? If you have a situation where the NDC themselves, if you remember after the limited registration exercise, they held a press conference and stated that the online registration that the EC adapted in most of the districts, the success rate was only 13.3%. What it means is that the intended decision of EC to use direct registration, register and it is captured at your data center, the success rate is just 13.3%. So this is what our friends in NDC want us to continue to use. You must also remember that the just ended limited registration exercise captured close to 1.2 million people. And it is likely to capture more in the coming year. It was done at a time where we are going to have district assembly elections. So the tension wasn't as high as in this year. So fancy a situation where you go to your electoral area or go to register and you are having success rate of 13.3%. I think that this is an argument that we need not further litigate over at all. We are only also cautioning the Electoral Commission that the fact that we believe that an enhanced system is good for our electoral process does not mean that we are going to sleep. We will continue to monitor them. We will continue to monitor whichever vendor that gets the contract to deliver and make sure that they deliver to the satisfaction of us all.
Those who are shouting, there's going to be war, there's going to be this, there's going to be chaos, there's going to be that. They are the very people, when it comes, they will run away. And then we, the women and children, will be left. In the long run, it is the women and children who will suffer. So the women in NDC and women in the other political parties who are shouting, there will be chaos, there will be this, there will be that. I am advising them to talk to their men because we don't have anywhere to go. We need peace. We need stability. And all these things that has been discussed by the Electoral Commission, we were all there. They didn't hide anything from us. Like my brother said, we are the party's inter-advisory political party committee. We can only advise. We cannot impose things on them. So we are advising our brothers and sisters in NDC particularly. And then those who think alike with them, that we want peace. I mean, what is so wrong with the register that they have taken an entrenched position that they don't want a new register? At least they could have even come for the demonstration and then maybe make their arguments after the demonstration. They did not. We don't know why they are crying foul over this.
The EC has clearly stated that the supplier of the equipment says they can't any longer support it. You understand? They are not talking about nationality of the supplier. The only truth they are giving it today is that, the EC is saying nationality. The EC has not said so. If it were possible and could be added on, if it could be upgraded, the EC would have told us clearly that they will add on. But that is not even possible. I think they are also there. After all, they acquired that system for the EC. If it was possible, why don't they question whether or not the EC is telling the truth? I think the EC has stated that clearly. If the so-called thing was cleaned in 2016, now, because of the experiences the EC had gone through, it is now saying that, look, the recent limited registration exercise, there was a problem, in terms of data capture. And the EC's attention was drawn by no less people than the NDC people themselves. You understand? We went to IPAC and they had to state the problems they had to undergo to recapture the so-called, missing data. That was very clear. So cleaning is not the issue.